Okay, so my study is about informativeness effect on tri-constituent compound nouns, and this is a speech production analysis. I don't have time to go over everything, but I'm testing tri-constituent compound nouns, which are three noun words that go together, and I'm testing the informativeness aspect of prominence and prominence assignment to show if the assignment of prominence would change based on how informative and less informative a word is in the last N3 position. Now, there's been research on this, but my study includes 13 native-speaking American or Canadian subjects, and I used my compound nouns from previous research like Kosling and Kunter, and also from two different corpora, the Santa Barbara corpus of spoken American English and the Buckeye speech corpus. I got some of these compounds, and what I did is take the last word, which is the one I'm investigating, and I changed it to a more informative or less informative word. So informativeness I found in the literature to be operationalized in relation to the frequency of a word and the significance, the meaning, the semantic meaning of a word. So the more specific, the less frequent, then it's more informative, and the vice versa. The more frequent and the less significance meaning it has, it's less informative, and so on. I used to operationalize my pitch, to operationalize my prominence using pitch, max, intensity, and duration. And I also used the VOT and the voicing and the intensity to mark my durational start and end of each of the three noun words. So here the red line represent how duration was captured. The experiment looks like this. You have a sentence presented on a computer screen using a software, and the speakers just have to look at this and speak directly into a microphone. I presented 5 trial utterances and 60 utterances, including 30 control and 30 test utterances. The utterances had the carrier phrase, the compound in the middle, and another carrier phrase to control for the declination effect and other factors that could interfere with the pitch, intensity, and duration. And for statistical analyses, I kind of reverted the order of the dependent and independent because it will be easier to do the statistics this way. But I have informativeness as less and more informative. So those are 2 levels. And then I have my pitch, 1, 2, and 3, like the first word, second word, and third word. And the same thing is done for intensity, duration, and well, that's it. I first converted my data from a Hertz score for the pitch and then to a normalized but not standardized 0 to 1 maximum, minimum, and a normalization score. Because I'm comparing different data sets together, so if I have one data set comparing maybe a mean of 100 and 200, another data set might be between 300 and 90. So this is going to be problematic. So because I want to compare all data across each other's, then I'm just getting from 0 to 1, which is great. This way it doesn't rob data from the means, and I need the means. So now, in this first analysis, I took items that are less informative in the N3 position, like street, sauce, juice, and coffee. And I found that there is no significant difference in the N3 pitch, in the N3 intensity, or the N3 duration. The pitch was kind of close, but it's not actually that close, so it doesn't matter. Now, I did the same thing with more informative words in the N3 position. So these are avenue, dressing, smoothie, and tea, respectively. And there is no differences in pitch, intensity, or duration within these words that are more informative in different data sets. Now, the most important part is I compared the less informative words with these words and the more informative data sets with these words. And then I found a difference in pitch, which is the N3, the words that I'm actually investigating, with intensity of N3 and with duration of N3. I also have duration of N1 that is significant, but we'll get to that later. So what this is telling you here is that based on how informative a word is in the N3 position, I found that more informative words like avenue, dressing, smoothie, and tea tended to show higher pitch, higher intensity, and longer duration in comparison to those that are less informative in the N3 position, like street, sauce, juice, and coffee. And this is in accordance with previous research like in Plague and Bell and Plague 2012, even though the researchers actually investigated only by constituent compound. So these are just two words. In my research, I took this to the tri-constituent compound, so the 3-word level, and I found the same results. The subjects also found in Bell and Plague in the investigation that duration was also a significant factor, and the pitch was a significant factor in informativeness on parameters. Now, in my study, I had a little issue with duration because the words I used did not carry the same length or the same number of syllables. So even though I had a significant effect of duration on the N3, I would not take that to be a factor that I take to be generalizable at this point until the number of syllables is controlled. The study also shows in relation to Costling study, which is a triconstituent compound research, that the words street and avenue were actually different in her study and were also found to be different in our study, but mostly in relation to intensity, which we found that the word street showed an intensity score that's less than the word avenue. And because we don't have time, I'm going to have to stop here. So the conclusion is we could use more informative words outside of a branching compound to actually elicit more prominence. The subject, knowing that this word is less frequent and more informative, carrying more meaning, should be highlighted more than words that are quite frequent and show no significant meaning. And with this, we can say that the previous research, like Chomsky and Halley's compound stress rule and Lieberman and Prince's lexical category prominence rule, were actually not quite correct, because the rules say the stress will only fall on branching compound, on the first noun of branching compound. And I showed that we could actually have stress outside of branching on the third noun. So this is great news. All right, so that's it. This is the reference page and another reference page. Thank you for your time.